Hey, what's up everyone? In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to use an external API with an ESP32 microcontroller. So if you don't know what is API, it stands for Application Programming Interface, which is a service that is located on the internet. For example, I'm going to use the joke API to get a joke each 30 seconds. Then we can display it using the OLED display. Of course, there are so many APIs on the internet. You could use the OpenWeatherMap API to display some readings like the temperature and the humidity without using any kind of sensor. And without any further ado, let's dive right in. To make this project, you're going to need an ESP32 microcontroller and some kind of display. In today's episode, I'm going to use the OLED display, which we have talked about recently. You could also use other ones like the LCD display. To do that, you have to connect the VCC to the VCC or the VN. The GND goes to the GND of the board, which power up our module. Then we have the SDA, goes to the SDA of the board, and the SEL pins gets connected to the SEL. I've already done that. If you don't know, the ESP32 microcontroller has Wi-Fi capability. We could use this feature to get connected to the internet. Basically, we have to send an HTTP request using a URL. To make things easier, I'm going to use this one that is called Joke API. Then we can get some information like the joke text. Some of these APIs require some sort of API key. This one doesn't require anything. You just need to take the URL and you will get a joke. Before that, let's try it out using the browser. On top, we can select the type or the category of the joke. I'm going to use a custom one. I want to select programming jokes because I'm a programmer. And let's select spooky. For the language, you could select English, German, Spanish, or whatever you want. Let's leave it as default. Under here, we have the joke type. You can select a single one or two parts. Let's use two parts. Then to use this API, you can send the request. And here we have few attributes or parameters, which are the two parts of our joke that we're going to take and display them on the OLED display. And to do that, you can copy this URL so that we can get the joke. I've already created this project that you can download from the link under the video description. On top, we have few libraries, like the Wi-Fi library, which allows us to connect to the internet. Also, we're going to need the HTTP client to send the request. But to retrieve the text, we have to use another library, which is called Arduino JSON. The first top libraries are built in. You don't have to install them. But this one needs to be installed from the library manager. Just write the name Arduino JSON. And it is this one. I've already installed it. Next, you will have to install the Adafruit GFX and the Adafruit SSD1306 libraries, which allows us to use the display. For that, you will need to search for the name GFX and make sure it is Adafruit GFX library. And the second one is SSD1306. You will need to search for the SSD library by Adafruit, which is this one. Then we have few objects like the display. I have 128 by 64 pixels display. Then we need to pass in the wire library. And the last parameter is the reset pin. Some of these OLED displays comes with a fifth pin, which is called the reset pin. For me, it doesn't have that pin. That's why I have passed in -1. You have to pass in your SID and password. I've already done that. And the last parameter is the URL that we have copied. Under our setup function, we have initialized the display using display.begin. This takes in this parameter and the address, which could be 0x3c or 0x3d. If the OLED display doesn't work, make sure to use one of these. Next, our ESP32 board gets connected to the internet using the SID and password. Finally, we use the loop function to get the joke. If the Wi-Fi status equals connected, then we create this HTTP object using the HTTP client library. After setting the URL, we use http.get to call the API, and that returns an integer. If it's greater than 0, that means we didn't have errors. In such case, we have the function http.getString, which gets the JSON format. We're going to focus on these two keys, the setup and the delivery, which represent our joke. Luckily, we are using the JSON library to retrieve this information by creating this object of type JSON object. Then we can use obj, which is the name, And in these square brackets, we write the name of the key that we want, which is the setup. With the same way, we can get the delivery text. Last but not least, we have used the display object to display the setup as well as the delivery. And that's pretty much it. Here we have a little bit of delay. If you want to get a joke each minute, you can change this to 60. Now we can upload the sketch after selecting the right board, which is a Node MCU32S, and hit upload. I think that's pretty much it, guys, for this video. If you want me to use another API like the weather API, make sure to write that under the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one.